Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking literally the ultimate detective story, the dynamic, ongoing biological origin story of us. It is a massive 14 billion year saga that takes us all the way from violent cosmic explosions right down to the intricate cellular machinery that's currently allowing you to process these very words. For millennia, people kind of just assumed life magically sprang from mud. Crazy, right? Well, Louis Pasteur's famous swan neck flask experiment completely shattered that illusion, proving once and for all that life comes only from pre-existing life. But of course, that leaves us with the ultimate paradox. How exactly did the very first life begin? So here is our roadmap for today. First up, origins, stars to cells. Second, the evidence in our bones. Third, Darwin and natural selection. Fourth, mechanisms, how evolution works. And finally, number 5, the human family tree.
Let's dive right into part 1, origins, stars to cells.
It is absolutely mind-boggling to think our story kicks off 14 billion years ago with the Big Bang. If we fast forward to about 4.5 billion years ago, early Earth was just this completely hostile, toxic wasteland of methane and ammonia. It actually took 500 million years of cooling, ozone formation, and absolutely torrential rains before the very first cellular life could even stand a chance. So back in 1953, scientists Miller and Urey essentially decided to play Zeus. They recreated early Earth's primordial, storm-ravaged environment right inside a closed system of glass tubes. They pumped in the native gases, blasted it with electric sparks to simulate lightning, and guess what? They got amino acids. Literally the building blocks of life. They effectively proved that chemical evolution could successfully set the stage for biology. With that chemical foundation laid, let's move to part 2, the evidence in our bones. Now, check out the physical clues hiding in plain sight. Whether we're looking at a human arm grasping a tool, a whale's flipper navigating the ocean, or a bat's wing catching the wind, nature is operating on the exact same skeletal layout. We're talking the humerus, radius, ulna, and phalanges. Different functions, but the same exact blueprint. So the crucial point here is that while a bat flies and we humans grasp, we definitely share a common ancestor. Nature essentially took one underlying design and relentlessly adapted it. This shared structural homology is proof that as the Earth's geology transformed, our ancestors adapted right along with it.
Okay, part 3, Darwin and natural selection.
We all know evolution is fundamentally about survival of the fittest, but we've actually watched this play out in real time. Back in 1850s England, white peppered moths perfectly camouflaged against the tree bark. But when the Industrial Revolution hit and soot blackened those trees, suddenly the rare dark-winged mutant moths held the ultimate survival advantage. By 1920, the dark moths completely dominated, a perfect, tangible example of Darwin's natural selection. While that moth example is a pretty quick turnaround for nature, we really have to contrast the traditionally slow pace of natural evolution, which is driven by natural climate or food changes, with anthropogenic or man-made evolution. Because of human action, like our heavy use of herbicides, pesticides, and antibiotics, we are forcing organisms into intense survival scenarios. Instead of taking centuries to adapt, microbes are mutating and building resistance to our drugs in a matter of mere months. Evolution isn't just some dusty thing that happened millions of years ago, it's a dynamic, ongoing process happening right now. Which brings us to part 4, mechanisms, how evolution works. At the very core of population genetics is the Hardy-Weinberg principle. I know, the algebra might sound intimidating, but it simply describes a genetic scale in perfect balance, genetic equilibrium. In a perfectly stable population, gene variations remain entirely constant across generations. Honestly, if this equilibrium never broke, evolution would literally stop in its tracks. But let's be real, the actual world is messy. That perfect equilibrium is constantly being shattered by these 5 dynamic forces. You've got populations migrating, which causes gene flow. You have random chance causing genetic drift. Reproduction forces genetic recombination. And on top of all that, you have sudden mutations and natural selection. These forces act like sudden, directionless edits to the very recipe of life. And finally, part 5, the human family tree. Let's make this personal. So, where do we actually fit into this whole 4 billion-year-old story? As we dig into the rocks of East Africa and the riverbanks of Java, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? About 15 million years ago, primates roamed the Earth, But the divergence toward modern humans required absolutely massive shifts in our skeletons and, crucially, our brains. Tracking our hominid ancestors reveals an incredible trajectory. Take Australopithecus, living roughly 2 million years ago on a simple fruit diet with a 600 cubic centimeter brain capacity. But by the time Homo erectus emerged 1.5 million years ago, we see a massive leap to 900 cc. Why the jump? A critical shift to a meat-based diet provided the dense calories required to power that rapid brain growth. And by the time we reach the Neanderthals around 100,000 years ago, brain size hits 1,400 cc. They're utilizing animal hides and even burying their dead. You can literally see these morphological shifts just looking at the skulls. As we moved away from our early ape-like ancestors, those heavy brow ridges and jutting faces completely disappeared, making way for the flatter faces and the massive brain cases of modern Homo sapiens. It is this amazing continuous thread of our physical hardware adapting to support our increasingly complex software. So, Homo sapiens eventually migrated out of Africa, developed agriculture about 10,000 years ago, and essentially conquered the globe. But our biological story hasn't stopped. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to consider. With our modern medicine, our rapidly changing climate, and our incredible ability to literally alter the genes of organisms around us, how are modern humans currently shaping the very next chapter of Earth's evolutionary history? We are no longer just the products of evolution, we are actively driving it. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey from stars to cells and ultimately to us.